while I've done my work. And their work being held up, in turn, has to hold me up because that's balance. It has to slow down my progress. It has to impede my path because the timetable I was on and the timetable they were on have to intersect. If I cause a ripple, I have to answer for that. If the other person caused a ripple, they have to answer for that. And we answer for it by compensation in equal proportion according to the theme that is being dealt with. And so in this particular case, it's the work and the timing of the work. And so the work that I had to do in the study, the intense study of almost everything on the planet. I mean, I have to study ancient history. I had to study revisionist history, modern history. I have to study science in various fields from atomic science to physics and everything in between. And so I go about my work being under the knowledge that I'm the last person allowed to take the test. And I'm the last person allowed to take the test because other people are more desired to inherit the seat than I am. And that is because at various times, in order to defend the people of Earth, I've been the scourge and I've been the redemption in the scourge. And so I've been villainized because of the things I had to do. But in the process, I have to absorb the punishment and use the negative energy from absorbing the punishment to build a more positive and enlightened movement of energy on the expression. In other words, I alchemically have to absorb all of the stuff that people do to mistreat me. I have to turn it around internally and allow it to come out as a benevolent pursuit. So I'm done with my invites. And so when I get to a point where this is the grand finale in the work process, I'll be under the impression that everybody's gone ahead and did their work, never knowing that for me to do my work, some people had to stop and wait. It might have looked like to them how it looked like to me that they dragging their feet. And so I get defensive, and all that's part of a process because of the temperament of a person and the character of a person. We get to understand how we behave and react to things and how other people behave and react to things. Then we can balance out those behaviors once we know each other. And so in the whole process of learning, evolving, growing, ascending, when we encounter people, we have to have a mutual exchange of energy back and forth. We have to deal with each other in the most balanced nature possible in order to learn the behavior of the other person. All right? In the process, it's alchemically moving energy within the person because you have to withhold stuff that's negative because of the negative effect it'll have on the other person. And that being what you call a noble deed converts the energy that you held in. You held back the bullshit because you didn't want to give this person bullshit. So you held the bullshit part back so that you can give them the clean, raw, uncut truth. Because you held the bullshit back inside you, what you held back at started out as bullshit encounters a noble principle of alchemy, equivalent exchange. Because you didn't use that energy, that negative energy, it can't just sit there and stay negative. It got to go somewhere. It has to do something. What does it do? If your heart is pure, it can only turn into a benevolent energy for you to put back out. So, you hold back the bullshit, and this is what they call keeping it real for real, other than that street shit where you can tell a motherfucker a lie in the name of keeping it real and it's cool. If you hold back bullshit, and you know it's bullshit, in order to pursue a better self and a better communication with the people you care about, the bullshit you held back begins to decompose. In farming, we call it composting. But it has to do something while it composts. It's changing form. This negative energy is changing form. It's transforming within you. You don't even know you're doing it. It's heat. It's pressure. The same thing that make diamonds. Heat and pressure. The internal heat of the negative quality of the bullshit, the lower heat, intensifies in the person, and you don't allow it to escape as a rage, a anger, or a resentment. You hold it back because that's not the proper context for the energy to be released. But it can't stay there in that form. It can't be destroyed. So the only thing left for the negative energy that you refuse to give to somebody you cared about, the only thing left for it to do is change form. If already negative, the only other form for negative is positive. So I say platinum back gorilla in reference to humans using the gorilla as a totem and understanding the concepts of guerrilla warfare. Platinum is the highest grouping of metals on the periodic table of metals. They're called platinum group metals, which includes your gold, your silver, platinum, iridium, radium. Well, there's a couple more. But these platinum group metals become platinum group metals through time and pressure in the movement of the atom without it being able to escape negatively. It has to turn into a more noble form of the lower energy and the lower vibration. And this is what we call alchemy. Okay, so now inside you, you start to change. Something happens to you where that negative shit that other people is experiencing, when you get in close proximity to them, you feel it. But you don't feel it alone because of what you've done with your own negative energy, right? When they come in and they need healing, you are trained by controlling your own negative energy. That means you're turning your mirror cells on in your brain, in your prefrontal lobe. That generates something called an empathy, not a sympathy, an empathy. Being able to feel somebody else's pain as if it was your very own pain, empathy. People who does this is called empath. Well, an empath has a side effect. They cannot leave a condition the way they found it if it's already negative. They cannot leave a person in a worse condition than they found them if they already in an adverse condition. So what does the empath do? Alchemy. Because they can identify with that person, they can do a mutual energy exchange, absorb all of the negative energy to heal that person. A good empath that knows itself knows how much of it to absorb, but most of us do it unconsciously. So we don't know when to turn it off consciously. But we change that energy for that person in order for them to be able to get unstuck in their path to ascension. So, every now and then, the blind spots of reading the signs sometime will tell you about a thing that is absolutely correct, but your perception from all of your learning gives you the wrong response to the right action because the right action appears to be the wrong response. Now, for the person that you've absorbed all this negative energy from, at some point, you're going to have what they call a maximum threshold. You can't absorb any more negativity from this one person. So then finally this person want to push more on you than you're willing to accept. More negative energy for you to convert. But you've reached maximum threshold. Your cup is full. You cannot accept any more negative energy from this one. You got other people to heal. In other words, they got their whole 8-ounce glass of water cleaned up. And now they got some more stuff in this new clean 8-ounce glass of water and they want you to convert it. I already cleaned your water, right? So you become intolerant. That means that your mirror cells, you turn them inward to block that person's energy being received. When you do that, when the energy comes in contact with the empath who normally accepts it, it's like being hit with a plasma ball and it kind of knock you a little silly for a minute. And that negative energy kicks you into the fight or flight mode. Normally, this person could not kick you into fight mode or flight mode. They would just allow you to control the energy and convert it. But when you reach maximum threshold, now is you meet it with aggression. You meet it as the enemy because of the force and power needed for an individual to reach maximum threshold. In some people, it's very great. So when they reach maximum threshold, they know at that point that there is a point of no pass. Now, a lot of people in the mystic arts heard that term, the point of no pass, when they doing like astral travel, projection, and things of this nature. Well, the point of no pass is when you reach maximum threshold within the self, you won't even tolerate your own self containing negativity at this point. Maximum threshold. Now what you have to do is exercise some of this good energy you absorb as negative and convert it. When you give it out, you start to then open the pathway to receive again, but you have to go through a process. This is where a lot of us get stuck, is the process. You can't start and jump to step 20 without doing 1 through 19. You're going to make mistakes at step 20 if you do that, based off the lessons you didn't get from the first 19 steps. So, once you start to give that energy out, now you start to balance back out. You have to balance back out before you can do any more energy conversion. Once you balance back out, all of the signs that you misread become clear, how you misread them and why you misread them. But this is giving you your receipt, so to speak. So when you run into the next sign, you realize you were supposed to misread those signs in order to elicit a certain internal response and external reaction. So what goes on inside of us changes the world outside of us when it's with the right intent, proper amount of emotional content, and it's in the right context, and it's following the path given to this thing. So if you want $1 million, a good example of following the process, I posted a video a couple of weeks ago about Steve Harvey explaining how to make $1 million doing what you already do. He's going over a mathematical formula. People are stuck on the mathematical formula, and it's kind of irrational in a way, but it's rational in this regard. The mathematical formula that he's given is not about the math, and it's not about the particular job that he's describing. It's about the process of getting to $1 million from $10. It has to take a very particular step. Once you do this good thing that you got $10 for 10 times, you got $100, right? And then the thing that you did to get $100, you do it 10 more times, you got $1,000. So it works off that principle, but the principle is not the math nor the money. The principle is the processing of the steps you're following. So you take these steps, 1 step, 2 step, 3 step. Now, as you following the steps in the process, you're learning lessons that's going to open the door when you get to the last step. That's why you can't put steps ahead of other steps, because at that point you lose track. And when you lose track, then you have to go back and backtrack, because you always in science go back to the last place where you knew you was right, without a doubt. Look at your formula you're using. Most of the time you're going to either have skipped a step or several steps, or you didn't complete a step. Then you realize, oh, this is where the error was. So these are the misread signs they're supposed to draw us back, because this is how it's keeping us on the timer, the clock. It keeps us on the clock by not allowing us to not learn from every step, good, bad, or indifferent. You have to learn the lesson. You learn the lesson best just by following the steps. At a subconscious level, your subconscious is recording it as a success. It's going to hold on to that in what you call your good file, and it's going to put it to the side. Later on, it's going to come back up where you need to go in your good file to solve a difficult problem, because you followed the steps 5 lessons ago from 1 to 10. You got this thing in your good file you can use to help you to unlock another door based off a different lesson. So this is what, when you read the ISIS papers by Frances Wellesley, she's a psychiatrist, and she's talking about a unified field theory. Now, Einstein was a physicist, and he didn't deal with the mind sciences. He dealt with the mechanics of the universe and the mathematical formulas that unravels what this mystery is, which led him to something called an observer effect, and how the observer can alter the experiment, right? I'm giving y'all some science right now, explaining it to you like, so Einstein said in his unified field theory, when he originally wrote it, is that everything is connected. Everything is interrelated. All things feed one thing from another. He's absolutely correct. Everything is connected. Now, in the galactic scheme, what we are going through as our lives is actually a game being played by the gods, and we are the chess pieces. The only problem is they are not what we are, and they cannot attain what we can attain. And when they came in and took advantage of the benevolence and the goodness of the people that was already here, who were androgynous light beings, they were not three-dimensional physical forms. And they used science and technology to trap them into a three-dimensional shell. And then they used sorcery to put them to sleep in the shell so that they can use them as a battery to generate their shit, to build their stuff, right? So, we wake up and realize we have been tricked, we've been kidnapped, we've been given amnesia, and we've been bound to a thing that's not us. This is not us. This organic, three-dimensional, self-replicating nanobot is not us. They got us in a tube, just like in the Matrix, projecting our consciousness into this body until we can take all of our consciousness as a light being and fill this vessel. That's what you call ascension. They scared to death because the wrong motherfucker woke. And so they left. The only problem remaining behind is what you call a residual. Now, this is an energy left behind by the passing of another energy through one energy. So if you have a north-south current and it's crossed by east-west current, at the center point of that, when the east-west current is completely through, it left a residual. The residual is the same as the residue left in the bathtub after you take a bath. When you let the water out, you still have to wash the bathtub because there's stuff all around the bathtub from the soap, the body oils, the dirts, and whatever. And so all of this has to wash the bathtub. Well, your residual energies from the cross current that went through there has to also dissipate. When we start waking up and realizing that we were deceived, we were trapped, enslaved in bondage in physical form when we were never physical beings, this gave us an advantage.